Hello everybody, my name is Player Negative, and today, yes, we're getting into the topic. You read the thumbnail, you clicked the title, we're talking about Nintendo fanboys. You know, those ignorant people who, despite the obvious red flags that Nintendo has fallen into borderline levels of corporate greed, they are so dang ignorant that they choose to ignore it. Because I got into an interaction with one of them. Now, before you start shouting in the comments or just completely unsubscribing entirely, let me explain some things. I am only talking about extreme Nintendo fans who are a little bit crazy and are clearly blinded by the amount of corporate greed Nintendo's pulling. Not normal Nintendo fans. No, they're perfectly fine. And I would know because I was one of them. I even have a Wii to prove it. See? But I'm not the only gamer who's willing to stare a blank eye at the big old N. There are many others who have done a pretty good job, might I add. And a good majority of us clearly can understand the factor that there is something wrong here, and because we all have a PC and enjoy emulation, we understand the problem at hand. Of course, you got people like me, and also the real-life fake wizard, who honestly is pretty good at his craft and I respect him. You also got Furtada, and Nathaniel Bandy, and plenty of other people who clearly understand the problem with this console and why it was created for corporate greed. However, Nintendo fans, specifically Nintendo fanboys, they don't understand at all. They take one good look at you and see you as a threat and a criminal. They will do anything to stop you in your tracks and to ruin your fun in any way possible. Yet, despite all the red flags that are clearly being shown, they choose to ignore your advice and see you as a fool who doesn't know any better, when clearly there is a problem here. And it's honestly just appalling the more and more you get into it, because I ran into one of these people while working on one of my videos in the comments, and honestly, what I had to hear was honestly as stupid I have ever heard. So, to give you a picture of what these kinds of people are like, here was those very several different comments within one of my videos and another YouTuber's videos with a conversation I had. And let me tell you, it was a waste of time, and it was honestly stupidity at its finest. So at first my reply was pretty insulting, but then I reiterated I was referring to the particular type of Nintendo fans. And then he tried to praise the Switch, saying its UI needs changes, and then I explained to him many of the issues we having. And the more and more I explained it to him slowly, you would think he would understand and generally get what I'm coming from. But no. He just kept on pressing on, saying that every business has shady practices and saying that YouTube is owned by Google and I should get off right now. And what I'm doing is being hypocritical for that. Hypocritical? Last I checked, YouTube doesn't brick you for speaking out against a false practice or an issue. Also, Google just makes a search engine. They don't make the devices you use, and they don't choose to upgrade a object only slightly and charge it for way more than it should be. This guy is just super ignorant, and it's just so annoying to just have to deal with this. I'm just trying to give him constructive criticism, and he just acts like I'm some sort of old man who yells at clouds and saying that nothing I do will ever change, when that mentality is the reason why things never change. Honestly, having to deal with this is very annoying, and he's pretty much immune to the clear, obvious issue with both the consoles in terms of corporate greed and sales, as well as the fact that Nintendo, let's just face it, they've lost themselves. They've become completely sauceless. I mean, for instance, just take a look at the Wii, or as Alex calls it, the US. For starters, it was designed specifically for people who don't play video games and to be accessible to anyone. Also, why everyone else was trying to be a thick box, this was trying to be standing upright to be more slimmer on tables and easier to carry. Not to mention, unlike every other console before it in the market with the PS3 and Xbox 360, it had backwards compatibility. And then there's the menu. Look at this, it's beautiful, it's crisp. Even though it only had 3 to 4 colors to work with in terms of the plain menu design, they made it work in a way that had personality to it. Meanwhile, there's a Switch 2. which is just a single white background that's just as minimal as possible. And it's no different from the Switch 1 menu, except with gradient borders and rounded square edges, which I do not understand at all. I mean, just look at this. This is the Switch 1 logo, and not much has changed except for the fact that the squares didn't have the round borders yet, and that generally it's just a single color blue around the cursor instead of just a little gradient purple. And that's not even including the fact that the price tag is way too insane when the economy's at an all-time low. Yet these guys look at it and eat it up without any hesitation. Nintendo makes these three look generous. And that's not even including all the random situations with the tariffs that they use as an excuse to boost up the price. Oh, and by the way, if you so much as try to mod your Switch under their watchful eye, they will hunt you down and break your system. Why some hackers have basically managed to stop this? It's absolutely stupid that they just decide to make your console disabled completely, which I find really annoying and makes no sense. You would think after all the counterpoints I just explained to everyone that they would genuinely understand, alright, this is wrong, I need to stop. No, they just keep on going. And that's not even including the situation with the fact that people say they don't have any self-control. Which confuses me, where they say they don't have any control not to buy it. You don't have any control not to buy it? What are you, smoking fentanyl? Like, what do you mean by that? I don't understand. These guys take one look at this and then eat it up. I've heard pre-orders happen so much that people have compared the purchasing to people buying crack. And after hearing what these people have to say, I can kinda see it. But I'm here to tell you, you don't need to do this. You don't need to hurt yourself with it. You don't need to waste your money on a console that's not worth your effort or your time. And if you think for a moment that this console is worth its price, not at all, because buying the console is not even the most easy. These people are so careless that they run the risk of basically throwing themselves down a deeper hole than they realize. Like, for starters, the games aren't even worth it in price, and you don't even have physical copies of them when you buy physical copies. But they don't care. All they gotta do is just see one flash of a cow riding a motorcycle and they're already set. Like, what is with this character being in the game? There's no point. I don't care if it's the cow from Mario Kart World or Hatsuki Miku in Sonic Cross World Racing. There is no need to do this. Most of these games are worth more money than your rent, and due to the state of the economy, I don't think anyone's going to be going into this. The fact is, games are getting more expensive because people like Nintendo like to set the standard more than it should be and pay you more in exchange for less of what you're actually getting. Because if we're being really honest, there are a lot of better options you can get besides the Switch 2 that are worth a lot less money and have a lot more to it that's definitely worth its price. You literally have the Steam Deck, which can give you thousands of libraries from both Xbox, PlayStation, and PC exclusive games. It's right out of the box, it's portable. You also got other types of retro pocket analytics with PlayStation, Game Gear, and every other system you got on there. You also got the Retro Deck, which, while it looks like a generic Game Boy, it's got shoulder buttons on the back and fits in your pocket like a breeze, and is a lot more powerful and a lot more easier to get. Since you can connect it to your computer, you can download any game or emulator for free. And before you start saying that that's illegal, let me remind you, these games aren't being sold anywhere, they're not being used or being cared about by the companies, so it's technically not illegal. The bare minimum of what I'm trying to explain here is that, while the Nintendo Switch is interesting, it's only just one option out of many other options that are generally much better a lot more worth your dime and your time. So next time you want to go out and get a new console, don't bother with a PS5 Pro, don't bother with an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One X. Just get something like a Steam Deck, a Xbox Rogue Ally, a Retro Pocket, or just something worth your time that isn't gonna suck your money from you, break your system if you don't adhere to your rules, and just make your own choices for once. Don't just bow to the whims of a random company for not doing things on their time and their dime. There's a lot more options you can do. Hey, and if you're interested yourself, you can just make a game yourself. We have Unreal Engine for a reason. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Player Negative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.